Bill Gates said, "I will always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it." What's a real-life example of this? I knew a guy who had a low-level data reporting job. He had several daily weekly work responsibilities, including a bunch of reports that needed quite a bit of tweaking from raw data to finished product. But like I said, low level. We didn't find out until way later, but he had set up macros for each of his major responsibilities where he could. Once set up, he'd just run the macros to do his work, but then he'd, smartly, hold off on delivering the reports until just a little before the deadlines. He'd hit every assignment and was seen as reliable. He also would complain about the workload so people would leave him with that work. I doubt he did a full hour of work a day after he set up what he did. Eventually he left the job for one with better pay. But damn did he work lazy. Also, he was smart not to reveal until the end, because had he told them about it he would have gotten a pat on the back and would have been given a whole other workload, on top of maintaining those macrosec. Dude milked the job, not the other way around. My brother gave my oldest nephew $10 a week if he did all his chores without needing to be told or complaining. One day he gets home early from work and sees the neighbor kid tossing a bag in the trash. He asks him what he is doing and the kid says he gets $5 a week to take care of a few chores. My nephew outsourced his chores. I'm doing it right now, automated data cleaning in Python. My coworkers don't know about it, so something that takes me 10 minutes at most takes them 2 hours. Edit. For everyone who says I should share my code, I have. I even set up a private GitHub space for my team. Some have taken it up, but others, including management, do not like it. I think they feel a little threatened. My coding mentor got hired in a US government position and he mentioned being able to automate a lot of tasks in his interview. After the interview was over he was contacted by one of the people that were in on the interview and said basically, "Look, we get paid such and such a year and only work such and such hours, do the automation, but don't say you are doing the automation." Edit, clarity. Dream come true. I worked goods in for an aircraft manufacturer as a summer job at university. Parts would arrive, we'd open them and key in all the details into a terminal. That bit was long-winded. I discovered the terminal keyboard has assignable shortcuts, and set up a bunch of them for all the boilerplate such that keying in an item was about 6 keystrokes. Saved myself and my workmate hours every day, which we would spend pranking each other, other warehouse staff and staff at other sites. Made yourself more efficient and use the extra time to make your colleagues less efficient. Thanos balanced meme.jpg. Made yourself more efficient and use the extra time to make your colleagues less efficient. Ron Swanson has entered the chat. Given the choice of doing something and doing nothing, I will always choose doing nothing. Unless doing something helps someone else do nothing. I would work all day if it meant nothing got done. Ron Swanson. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. The person originally doing this job spent a full 40+ hours a week doing it, but was not very computer literate. When they retired, the company hired someone with actual skills. The new hire convinced management to let her work remotely after getting up to speed on the job. The first week at home was spent automating the entire job. The remainder of their multi-year tenure with the company was spent doing whatever they wanted, save the 10 to 15 minutes weekly to run their program and to answer the odd email here and there. All while getting paid full salary and benefits. They actually had to add in a few errors now and then to make it seem realistic. An older company had a person dedicated to data entry which boiled down to copying and pasting portions of data from text files into spreadsheet and formatting into a report. I've worked a few places that have people doing this. Usually when they retire, the job is given to some younger person that figures out how to do it in 10 minutes on top of the rest of their normal job. In this case, since the retiring person worked full-time doing this and often struggled to meet deadlines, they hired a replacement. My GF works for an insurance company and basically spent months working on spreadsheets to compile quarterly vendor claims for the last 10 years, each quarter with thousands of rows. I just finished my MS in analytics. I spent a few hours with her asking exactly what she needed to do. Wrote 3 lines of code in SQLite and basically saved her months of work. Now when she has to work in these projects she runs the program and that's that. I was pretty proud of that. I work in insurance, am currently on Reddit because I finished my work for the day. It's 1 p.m., I started at 11 and done at 7 p.m. I'm bored already. Years ago as a student I got a job stocking shelves. Guys were carrying the heavy boxes, put them on the floor and bend each time to pick up the items to put on the shelves. I was maybe a light 100 pounds woman and carrying the boxes was just killing me physically. So one day I had an idea. I put the box on an old desk chair and rolled it around. No more carrying and no more bending. Funny thing is that, instead of doing the same thing, most of the guys called me lazy and kept carrying the heavy boxes. Just to prove how strong they were. Now they have special rolling carts to do the job. Screw lazy, screw strong. I would have copied you without a second thought. Hell yeah. You don't get bonus pay for having an aching back. I plug clocks in at midnight so they're already set. Trip the main fuse in the house at midnight to do all the appliances too lol. The real life hack is always in the comments. An engineer spent hours developing a program so they could start the coffee pot from their desk and not have to wait for coffee when arriving in the break room. That's pretty much how the first webcam was created too. Lazy computer engineers wanted to see if there was coffee in the pot. I'm so unbelievably happy that this is true. www.bbc.co.uk News Technology 20439301. It didn't vary very much, explains Dr. Stafford Fraser. It was either an empty coffee pot, or a full one, or in more exciting moments, maybe a half-full coffee pot and then you'd have to try and guess if it was going up or down. Every year in the Canadian winter, power lines would fail due to the weight of the snow. It took many days to build up enough to break a line, so they employed a team to walk the routes and shake the poles to loosen the snow. One day they saw a bear shaking the poles and realized that if they could get the bear to do it they wouldn't need to walk the route. So they gave one guy a bucket of honey and he walked the route painting the sides of the poles with honey to attract the bears. It worked for a few more years, but this still takes a lot of time to do. So then they had the idea of flying a helicopter along the route with a trained sniper with honey paintballs that he'd shoot the poles with. On its maiden flight the helicopter passed the lines and the downdraft blew away all of the snow. The flights continue to this day but without the sniper. Typos and grammar fixed by Ubrotherbad. Wait, what? Is this true? If so, perfect example, just had to Google it. It's one of those stories that floats around everywhere, but I've never seen any real evidence that it's actually true. I'm forced to believe this is false. Bears usually hibernate in the winter, which is when it typically snows. Although with Canada, who can say? Maybe they get snow in July. Ike, we had snow in May, it's possible. You never know, WTF, Mother Nature is giving us from one day to the next. Hell, even the forecast from Environment Canada is either 100% or 0% correct, there is no in between. I just want to point out to anyone who is starting a small business and planning to charge by the hour, this thread illustrates why that is a bad idea. You should not be punished because you have developed efficiencies in your work that allow you to complete it quicker than another similar professional. That is value. You should earn from that value you're providing. As the guy I bought my business from said, if you are willing to sacrifice your bill rates, you will work yourself to death for nothing. Absolutely. I have seen many people who will simply pretend the work takes longer to finish because they know that if the boss finds out it can get done faster, they will get more work but no reward of extra pay. Some workplaces will also make people dust or sweep floors if they finish their work early. Heaven forbid you just let them take off early because, 9 to 5. And going home early but keeping the same amount of pay. Definitely not going to happen. I had a boss that wouldn't even let me leave at 4:47 p.m. because I was scheduled till 5 o'clock. This was just a little office where I did not have appointments, customers, or clients. My ex-boss gave me an Excel sheet. 124.000 rows Excel sheet. Had all the company customer data per row, twice. In some of those duplicates there was an error. She needed me to go over the list one row by row to check for mistakes and mark all the faulty entries I could find. Through 124.000 rows. She wanted me to do that using the arrow down key and my mouse. I thanked her. I sat down. Invested half an hour into Google. Copy-pasted some parts of this formula, then some parts of that. Finally I had figured out the formula. I double-clicked the tiny rectangle so that the formula gets applied on all rows. Worked like a charm. I stood up, got myself a coffee, talked to some colleagues. Then I went to my boss. She had anticipated that I would need 3 days for this task. When I was back less than an hour later, she thought I hadn't understood the task or maybe a follow-up question. I will never forget the expression on her face when I told her I was done. There were 6 faulty entries. A year and a half later I enrolled into computer science at university where I will finish my undergrad this summer. Imagine doing it their way to find 6 ducking errors. Imagine a company having its 60000 plus CRM records stored in Excel, fully duplicated, and half of that with errors. As you know, our students' records are stored on a Microsoft Paint file, which I was assured was future-proof. The dean,